It is Sunday, January 23rd, 2022, and we are live. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, 313-778-7600. So, we're on basically every day, and I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday also. So we had a great show on Roland Martin Unfiltered also. So I'm going to share an excerpt of what happened on Roland's show as well. But last Sunday here on the show, I told you that I was going to speak at Davis and Elkins College in West Virginia for Dr. King Day. And, those that follow me on social media, they saw my Facebook post of me at the airport, Detroit Metro Airport, because after I did last Sunday's show, I got off the air and I didn't go to bed. I finished working on my presentation, got off the air 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, finished working on my presentation, and I didn't go to bed. I was watching Eyes on the Prize, and I ended up, and I had to pack to leave for West Virginia. So I left for the airport at about 6:20 a.m., had a 9:15 a.m. flight, and with a connecting flight in Chicago. So the first flight from Detroit to Chicago was fine. And then the connecting flight from Chicago to Clarksburg, West Virginia, we're on the plane, on the tarmac in Chicago, O'Hare Airport, waiting to take off. And we get the message from the flight attendant that the flight has been canceled because of the winter storms hitting the East Coast, and the airport in Clarksburg, West Virginia, can't clear off the runway for us to land. So they had to cancel the flight while I'm sitting there on the flight. So then we had to get off the flight, stand in line, get booked on another plane back to Detroit, where I just left from. Back to Detroit. So I get back home like at 6:30 p.m. and I'm supposed to do the presentation at 7 p.m. So I ended up doing the presentation virtually for them. So I'm gonna let you hear an excerpt of the presentation that I did for Davis and Elkins College. Name of that presentation is "The Distortion of Dr. King's Legacy," and we dealt with racial injustice, and we're coming to get our check. All right, so we'll talk about that. Let's see, it was late Friday night, early Saturday morning. We got the news about Regina King's son, Ian Alexander Jr. Regina King, we know her from 227 and Poetic Justice, and director of The Harder They Fall, different in number of movies. Regina King, her son Ian Alexander Jr., 26 years old, committed suicide. So we'll talk a little bit about this. I posted an article from people.com, People Magazine, about this, and it got over 11,000 likes, I think, something like that, something crazy, on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. So we'll discuss that. And this also deals with suicide. Now, we don't know at this point what led up to it, things like this, but in the article I read from people.com, they had information about suicide prevention as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Then there was, we know this past week, January 20th was the 1-year anniversary of President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris being sworn into office. And different people had information out, different news outlets had information out dealing with the 1-year anniversary, what has been accomplished, what still needs to be accomplished, etc. We're going to do a breakdown of that. We talked about it some on Roland Martin Unfiltered, because we and there's been a lot that's been accomplished, everything from the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan to the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, executive orders dealing with racial equity, there's been a number of different things accomplished, attacking COVID-19, getting vaccinations, funding for schools for COVID-19. But there's still things that have to be accomplished as well. And there's still things that have to be accomplished that stalled in year one, like the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which I told you on this show what they should have done. But we'll talk about that as well. And I'm going to talk about some things that people forgot, that people don't mention, which I find very interesting. There's some things that were accomplished that very few people don't mention. Now, there was a piece from blavity.com that talked about this, and a lot of these things we deal with here on this show because that's the type of information we deal with, right? But did you know that HBCUs got $5.8 billion from the Biden-Harris administration? You know that? Historically Black colleges and universities got $5.8 billion, which is historic. HBCUs have never gotten that type of money. And this is at whitehouse.gov. Now, in the piece from blavity.com dealing with year one of the Biden-Harris administration, they talk about this. But there was $3.6 billion in the American Rescue Plan that went to HBCUs. That doesn't get talked about a lot. I don't know why it doesn't get talked about a lot. I'm still trying to figure that out. December 17th, 2021, the fact sheet on HBCUs at whitehouse.gov. Whitehouse.gov is like a really good resource. Because I hear people on social media talking, and I listen to what they're saying, and oftentimes what they're saying is not like consistent with facts and evidence. So I don't know where they're getting a lot of this misinformation from. But just very quickly, and I know we're coming up here on the break. We'll go to the phone lines when we come back from the break. But just very quickly here, how many people have read this? Fact sheet: Biden-Harris administration announces new actions to be. No, that's the wrong one. We'll talk about that. That's from June 1st, 2021. That's what the executive orders that President Biden talked about when he went to go visit Tulsa during the 100th commemoration of the Tulsa Race Massacre. Okay, and a few people are talking about this in their analysis of year number one. Okay, but the one that I want is not this one. We'll talk about this, but the one that I want is the one dealing with HBCUs, and this one here, I printed it up. I thought I had it bookmarked. Where is it here on HBCUs? Biden-Harris administration's historic investment in HBCUs. Let me see here. Pull this up, and it breaks down. It breaks down the allocation. Here we go. Now this is from. Okay, there's one from October 29th, 2021, but there's also one from December 17th, 2021 that gives an update on everything. All right, and that's the one I want. So we'll discuss that on the other side of the break as well. Okay, then I'm going to share a segment from Roland Martin Unfiltered, and this deals with the federal judges that Biden got confirmed also. And then we'll talk about some other topics as well. So there was this other story that we talked about that I posted on our fan page, The African History Network. There was another story that's gone viral, and this deals with a 3-year-old girl in Alabama who they're calling Afro Spider-Girl. Afro Spider-Girl, and I call her Afro Puff Spider-Girl. Have you seen the pictures? Now, the first person I saw post about this was actually just a picture. It was one of my Aset Noor, one of my Facebook friends for a long time. She posted a picture of this, and then I started seeing articles written about it as well. Okay, and this deals with natural hair. Loving natural hair also. I'm going to pull this picture up here. TheGriot.com has a good article dealing with this, and there's also a piece from channel CW39 out of Houston, Texas. They did a story on this as well. Okay. Afro Spider-Girl. And this picture and this story has gone viral. Let's see if we can pull this up here. Okay, so this is a still frame from CW39. So some of you all have seen these pictures. So it's about a 3-year-old girl named Rose. And for her birthday, she actually wanted to be Spider-Man and put on a Spider-Man costume. And what's unique about this picture is her mother made this happen. And you see her Afro puffs sticking out of the Spider-Man mask as well. Okay. So we're going to talk about this story also that went viral this week. Then there was a lot of people are talking about the what happened on the Senate floor Wednesday before the 2 voting rights bills were defeated. Okay. But Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey tore into the lies being told by Isaiah T. Montgomery Jr., also known as Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina. And they clashed. We talked about this earlier in the week on our Wednesday show, but they clashed over Jim Crow laws and voting rights. We're going to let you hear some of that exchange because Senator Cory Booker was breaking down the facts of voter suppression, Okay, we'll deal with this on the other side of the break. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by. What the hell is this? All right, stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Back from break in 4 minutes. Stand by. Stand by, everybody. How's everybody doing? Share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. Okay, stand by. Back from break in 2 minutes. Okay, this should be broadcasting on Facebook. There was an error when I was trying to broadcast. Okay, now it's broadcasting on Facebook because it wasn't coming up. I hate it when it does that. Okay, this should be on our fan page. Back from break in 1 minute. Damn, it's not broadcasting on our fan. I don't know what happened. God damn it. Stand by. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, January 23rd, 2022, and we are live. All right. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. And then also, if you want me to do a presentation for your group organization, because people are starting to request now, if you want me to do a presentation for your group organization, email me at AHNshow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AHNshow, SHOW, at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and we can make that happen. All right, let's go. We'll talk about Regina King. We'll talk about these other stories. We'll talk about Lucia Harris as well. I talked about Lucia Harris earlier in the week. Lucia Harris was the only woman ever drafted by the NBA. The only woman ever drafted by the NBA. She just passed away this past week at age 66. Okay. And it's a fantastic story. There's a new documentary out about her as well. Lucia Harris. All right, let's go to the phone lines quickly here. Let's go to Chad, line 1. Chad, welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from.
Mr. Hotep. Hi, how you doing, sir?
Hey, how you doing, Chad?
I'm okay. I commend you on an excellent work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, man.
Really,
this ain't easy, brother. This ain't easy.
But
Hey, Chad, you're breaking up a little bit.
Make...
Chad, you're breaking up.
Oh, okay.
Can we, Jaden, can we get Chad's line straightened out? And
is that better?
Okay, that's a little better. Yeah, that's better. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, sir. I want to know what's up with Mitch McConnell making the statement, which we all know he made, about African-Americans voting like regular Americans. He's implying that we are Americans, but I'm not surprised because there's pictures of him online taking, pictures with someone with a Confederate flag behind him. Right. And I'm just, flabbergasted why there's an outcry to get him to step down from saying that. I mean, if it were Obama or, we'll forget, black politician, you know what I mean?
Right.
It would be over, but they gave him chance to clear it up. You know how they do. It's crazy.
Well. He backtracked, but here's the thing, Mitch. You can't get Mitch McConnell to step down. Mitch McConnell is not going anywhere. There has been outcry about it. You can do. Mitch McConnell is not going to step down. Now, what should happen is economic pressure needs to be put on corporations that put Mitch McConnell in office in the first place. But McConnell's not going to step down from that. Okay, just so people understand. If McConnell didn't step down from changing his change, keep in mind. Okay, when Amy Coney Barrett was pushed through to be Supreme Court Justice, okay, this was like 8 or 9 days before the 2020 presidential election. Mitch McConnell changed his previous stance from not being able to push through a Supreme Court nominee in the same year of an election. He changed that because, see, that's what he said when President Obama nominated Merrick Garland. Okay, he changed it when Trump was in office, and it's like 9 days before the presidential election. Okay, or something like that, right about that. And what he said was, he said it's okay if it's in the year of an election, but the Senate is in control of the same party that the president is of in the White House, meaning that Republicans were in control of the Senate and Republicans were in control of the White House. So he said it's okay. That's not the argument that he made when he blocked Merrick Garland that was nominated by President Barack Obama because in 2016, because Republicans were in control of the Senate in 2016 and Obama, the Democrat, was in the White House. So McConnell is not going to go anywhere. What has to happen is that we got to make sure in 2022 you expand how many Democrats are in the Senate to nullify McConnell's power in the Senate, because a 50-50 slim majority in the Senate is not the same as a 60-40 majority or 55-45 majority. Okay, but so for those that don't know what you're referring to, and I posted about this on Facebook. I wasn't really going to talk about it a lot, but since you brought it up, Okay, so now McConnell says it's hurtful what people are saying about him now. So there's this piece from Forbes.com, and I'm trying to pull this up here. This is piece from Forbes.com, and it says, let's see here. Let's see if we can pull this up. McConnell says comment suggesting Black voters aren't Americans was accidental. Okay, comment suggesting Black voters were not Americans are accidental. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell on Friday defended himself over comments that seem to suggest that Black voters are not Americans following massive social media backlash. The senator claims is not warranted since he quote unquote misspoke. Now, if you go and watch what he said, he took his time with what he said. It wasn't like he was speaking quickly and it talked off the cuff. No, he took his time with what he said. All right. I want to pull this article up here. Yeah, he took his time with it. Okay, hold on just a second. Let me pull this up here from Forbes.com. And let me change this title here. Okay, so let's go back to this just a second here. All right. So now McConnell flips it around and he plays victim. Just like Donald Trump used to play victim when Donald Trump would stick his foot in his mouth. Go ahead.
Yeah. As usual, that's just as bad as the Kirsten Sinema. You heard about her shaking hands with Republicans after her vote and stuff, too. It's just amazing how, that's another horse of a different color, probably another talk show, but you probably heard about that, too.
I saw it. Well, so on the Senate floor.
The Democratic Party did.
Okay, go ahead, say that again.
No, I heard that the Democratic Party, I heard fragments of it. They did, I don't know if they disciplined her.
They censured her in Arizona. The Democratic Party in Arizona censured her.
Republicans.
After
censured her, right.
Yeah, after she voted not to change the filibuster rule in the Senate. Because she voted for the voting rights bills. Just so people understand. Both Manchin and Sinema voted for the voting rights bills, but they voted against changing the filibuster rule in the Senate, which was the second vote. All right.
Okay.
So now she's been censured by the Arizona Democratic Party and also Emily's List, which is a big Democratic organization, women's Democratic organization. They have withdrawn support of her and they're chastising her as well. But very quickly here, because we're coming up on another break. If we look at this piece here from Forbes.com, it's hurtful, McConnell says, comment suggesting Black voters aren't Americans was accidental. Okay, so he says he's misspoke. Now, at a press briefing on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, the same day that the vote failed in the Senate, and everybody needs to keep in mind, all 50 Republicans voted against these two voting rights bills. But this is after 16 Republicans who are currently in the Senate, including Mitch McConnell, back in 2006, voted to renew the Voting Rights Act. All right. So it's important for people to understand this. So at a press briefing on Wednesday, McConnell responded to a question about his message to concerned voters of color as he worked to defeat a Democratic-backed voting rights bill by saying, quote, the concern is misplaced because if you look at the statistics, African-American voters are voting in just as high a percentage as Americans. All right. So that got him in the hot water. But this is after the debate that happened on the Senate floor between Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina and Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey. All right. Go ahead.
I saw it. Yeah. I saw it.
Yep. Okay. Now, so McConnell, and then I'm going to send this clip to you, Jalen. We'll play this on the other side of the break. Now, at an infrastructure event in Kentucky on Friday, January 21st, McConnell said he inadvertently left out the word, quote unquote, all before Americans. So it would say all Americans. Okay. But now he said it on Wednesday, but you cleaned it up on Friday. All right. I don't understand. Now I don't understand. Now check this out, Chad. None of the he was surrounded by white people when he said it on Wednesday. None of the white people around you corrected you. None of the, do we still have Chad there? Okay, we lost it. Oh, hold on. I lost. Oh, I dropped the call. Stand by. Stand by. We dropped the call to Skype through Skype. All right. Hold on. Let me reconnect to the radio station. All right, stand by, everybody. This is live radio. Oh, damn. Come on. All right, stand by. I got to call. I'm calling back to the radio station. Okay. Why is this call failing? Stand by. I'm trying to reconnect to the radio station. All right, here we go. Yeah, Jalen, I dropped the call.
Yeah, I lost you.
Yeah, Skype just went out on me. All right, I'm back.
Okay. All right. So I went to break, okay? So
all right.
Back. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Stand by.
For $500, but they must stay with.
All right. Stand by, everybody. We're on commercial break. Dropped the call with Skype. How's everybody doing? Sherwin, WUDT, Detroit Daystar Deaf Church. Okay, how you doing? Henry, should I go to the Facebook page? If you're able to watch on YouTube, you can follow me on Facebook also, but if you're able to watch on YouTube, you should be good. Okay, Chad is still holding. Okay, stand by, everybody. Let me, I need to send this over to Jalen so he can play this clip. Okay, who still needs to register for the online courses I teach on Saturdays and Sundays? From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968, and Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. I'll be teaching both classes coming up this weekend. What is that? January 29th and January 30th. Okay. 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a bundle pack right now. You can register for both classes for only $70, and it's gonna expire after that because the classes are regularly $130 each. Stand by. I'll post a link here. As soon as you register, you can start watching the content. You can join us in class this coming weekend. All right, let's see here. Stand by.
We deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Unfortunately, many people confuse what racism is. Racism is a power structure. It was laws and policies that put us in this predicament. It's going to be laws and policies that take us out. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the compass of his or her actions because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know.
We have it on 910 AM Superstation. The 910.
Stand by, back from break in 1 minute. All right, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the TheAHNShow through Cash App, and through PayPal, paypal.me/TheAHNShow. Stand by. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, January 23rd, 2022, when we were live. We reconnected to the radio station. We were talking to Chad, and Skype dropped on me. So we're going to go back to Chad here in just a second. Hey, Jalen, I sent you the clip from, I sent you the article from Forbes.com. It has the video in there of Mitch McConnell's statement. So if you can cue that up, we're going to go to that. Also, be sure to register for the online classes I teach on Saturdays and Sundays dealing with history. On Saturdays, it's from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. And that's 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Saturdays and Sundays, it's Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Kemet's one of the original names for Egypt. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. So next classes are Saturday, January 30th, and Saturday, January 29th, and Sunday, January 30th. And we'll update the website as well. The classes are regularly $130. They're on sale. We have a bundle pack right now. They're on sale only $70 for a very limited time only, because that's going to expire in a few days. So visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, Chad, I dropped a call. It wasn't you. I dropped a call through Skype, and I was talking to you. Go ahead and finish your point, Chad. We were talking about Mitch McConnell and saying that African-American voters vote at the same rate as Americans. Go ahead, Chad.
Yes, sir. And then I see one time it was a picture of him with the civil rights leaders back during the day from the past or whatnot. But I mean, I'm not judging a man's heart. I don't know him personally, but at the end of the day, the Bible says a tree is known by the fruit that it bears, and stuff. And as we all know fully well that, these things that's going on, we know that physically can't happen, of course, but how that saying goes, I would make people turn over in their grave. I know Dr. King, Medgar Evers, as well as other civil rights leaders would be disgusted. I'm just saying it's for the symbolicness of bringing shame for their struggles.
Right.
That they've done, and for us to come down to this, our voting rights being challenged, I mean, so again, like I said, I just thought to get my view on it and see what your take on. I'm not getting away from Miss Regina King from losing her son.
Oh no, we're gonna talk about a number of different topics, so that's fine.
It was sad.
But speaking of Dr. King, you do know that Mitch McConnell posted about Dr. King on Dr. King Day, right? We talked about it.
Oh,
we talked about
it. Wow. Wow.
He posted. Okay, so
you can't make it up.
So here's a couple things. Here's some people need to know about Mitch McConnell, right? So read this article here from NBCnews.com. Senator Mitch McConnell's great-great-grandfathers owned 14 slaves, bringing reparations issue close to home. Because Mitch McConnell's against reparations, but his great-great-grandfathers on both sides of his family owned collectively at least 14 slaves, and from the data, only 2 of them were males. The other 12 were females. I don't know what that was about. McConnell has opposed paying reparations to descendants of slaves or descendants of former slaves, because the slaves were freed. Those census records show his family, like many others, benefited from their labor. Okay, so okay, all right. Thanks, Chad. Thanks for calling. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, no problem. All right, so Jalen, let's go to this clip here from Mitch McConnell on Wednesday, putting his foot in his mouth once again.
What's your message for voters of color who are concerned that without the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, they're not going to be able to vote in the midterm?
Well, the concern is misplaced. If you look at the statistics, African-American voters are voting in just as high a percentage as Americans. 94% of Americans thought it was easy to vote. This is not a problem.
Okay, so that was on Wednesday. So then on Friday, now this article came out from Forbes, and this article is from January 21st, 2022. This is from Friday, January 21st. So McConnell cleaned it up. Now, as I was saying, and we dropped the call, so I was talking to myself. I don't think people on 910 AM heard me say it, but people on social media did. McConnell had white men standing around him when he made that statement. None of them corrected him on what he said, because you see, McConnell wasn't rushing in his statement. He took his time with it. None of the white men around him said, you meant to say all Americans. None of them, corrected him. So on Friday, what happened was on at an infrastructure event in Kentucky on Friday. McConnell said he inadvertently left out the word all in his statement, calling criticism of him on social media, quote unquote, offensive and total nonsense. All right. Now, despite McConnell's office quickly saying the senator misspoke, a social media firestorm erupted with the NAACP and numerous Twitter users questioning what McConnell meant by the comments. Now, this tweet here from the NAACP, to the official national chapter of the NAACP, Leader McConnell will wait, and they have a pair of eyes, will wait. NAACP, Senator McConnell, what is the difference between African Americans and Americans? Yours truly, Americans, assigned. Newsweek has a post here on Twitter. Senator Mitch McConnell has sparked backlash after he distinguished between African American voters and Americans at a press conference on Wednesday. And let's see. Okay, so we got that. So he received backlash. McConnell made the controversial statement ahead of a vote on a sweeping voting rights bill endorsed by Democrats. McConnell voted against the bills, by the way, which proposed setting national standards for early voting and allowing same-day voter registration across same-day voter registration across the country. Okay, so he made these statements before he voted against the voting rights bills, but after he posted about Dr. King on Dr. King Day. And I think we have that. I think we have that article up here. Yeah, we've got that. I'll show you that one because we talked about this on our Tuesday show. Okay, McConnell bombarded with criticism over voting rights stance after posting Martin Luther King Day tribute. Okay. I told you they were going to do it. I knew they were going to do it because they do it every year. So same-day voter registration across the country, among other reforms. But Senate Republicans unanimously opposed the effort, arguing it amounted to federal overreach into election processes, which are run by the states. Now, Democrats ultimately failed to pass the legislation after Senators Joe Manchin, a Democrat from West Virginia, where I spoke. I spoke to a college in West Virginia on Monday for Dr. King Day, and Kirsten Sinema, Democrat from Arizona. Her name is spelled Kyrsten. I started spelling her name with 3 Ks. Okay, don't ask why. These two moderate Democrats broke party ranks and voted against changing the filibuster rules to drop a 60-vote threshold needed to end debate on the bill. Now, it is important to note, and we've dealt with this here on the show before. So read this full article here from Forbes.com. It's hurtful. McConnell says comment suggesting Black voters aren't Americans was accidental. Okay, but we don't have to go by what you say, Mitch. We can go by what you do. Now, Mitch McConnell on Monday, Dr. King Day, out of the kindness of his heart, he posted about Dr. King on Monday, but then worked to dismantle Dr. King's legacy on Wednesday. Now, this is from the Independent, independent.co.uk. McConnell bombarded with criticism over voting rights stance after posting Martin Luther King Day tribute. McConnell bombarded with criticism over voting rights stance after posting Martin Luther King Day tribute. Martin Luther King would be rolling over in his grave at McConnell's hypocrisy. So Mitch McConnell has been branded a hypocrite for posting a tribute to Dr. King while leading Republican efforts to obstruct new voting rights legislation. Let me see here. Let's go get past this. So McConnell posted on social media, nearly 60 years since the March on Washington, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s message echoes as powerfully as it did that day. Mitch McConnell wrote on social media. His legacy inspires us to celebrate and keep building upon the remarkable progress our great nation has made toward becoming a more perfect union. But if you actually read his speech, Dr. King's speech that he delivered August 28th, 1963, at the Lincoln Memorial. The speech was originally called Normalcy Never Again. Then it was called A Canceled Check. Then later on, after he delivered it, it was called I Have a Dream. But Dr. King talks about dismantling white supremacy and racism and calling America out on its hypocrisy. And he talks about holding America accountable for a promissory note that we were given 100 years prior in the Emancipation Proclamation, 1863. He talks about holding America accountable to the words in the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. And he talks about fighting against segregation, racism, housing discrimination, police brutality, all this stuff, poll taxes, literacy tests, voting against discrimination when it comes to voting. He deals with all this in the speech. So how is it that you praise Dr. King on Monday, but you vote against Dr. King's legacy on Wednesday? And one of the bills you voted against is the John Lewis Voting Rights Readvancement Act. And John Lewis was there at the March on Washington the same day that Dr. King was, and John Lewis spoke as well. And John Lewis worked with Dr. King. How is it you praise Dr. King on Monday, but continue to work to dismantle his legacy on Wednesday? We'll deal with this on the other side of the break. We'll talk about these other topics. Regina King's 26-year-old son, Ian Alexander Jr., tragically committed suicide. We'll talk about Nicole Hannah-Jones called out of the 1619 Project. We dealt with this on our Tuesday show. Nicole Hannah-Jones was asked to speak for a group on Dr. King Day. Some of the people there, it was a small group, felt that her presence would dishonor Dr. King's legacy. She gave them a verbal beatdown using Dr. King's own words. We'll deal with this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
So you've decided to go to college.
Stand by.
That's cool. So pop quiz. Which is a better way to earn your degree?
How's everybody doing? Share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in. Stand by. We'll go back to the phone lines also. Where's the one? Stand by, everybody. Back from break in 3 minutes. All right. If you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. Stand by. Okay, calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Back from break in 2 minutes. Where is Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, January 23rd, 2022, and we are live. Okay, we'll go back to the phone lines here in just a minute. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. If you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, email me at AHNshow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AHNshow@AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. African American History Month is quickly approaching, and I'm getting requests to speak. So email if you want me to do an in-person presentation, virtual presentation, panel discussion, what have you. Email me at AHNshow, SHOW, @AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and we'll work out the details and we'll make it happen. Also, be sure to register for the online classes I teach on Saturdays and Sundays, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968, in ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We have it right on the homepage of our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Also, my 15 DVD bundle pack, the Michael Imhotep Black History Month 15 DVD bundle pack, is available at our website, also AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Okay, I want to go to this story here. This is dealing with Regina King's son, Ian Alexander Jr. And it's a tragic story. We'll go to the phone lines after this, so stand by. I saw this story. It was late Friday night, early Saturday morning, and we posted this on our fan page, the African History Network, and it's gotten over 11,000 likes. It's a good article from people.com, People Magazine. Regina King's son, Ian Alexander Jr., dies by suicide. He, quote, cared so deeply. He was her only child, and this is a child she had with her ex-husband, record producer Ian Alexander Sr. Here's a picture of Regina King. We all remember, I just finished watching all the episodes of 227. It's on Amazon Prime. We remember her from Poetic Justice, 227, a number of different movies and TV shows, and the TV show 227 as well. Regina King's son, Ian Alexander Jr., has died by suicide. People Magazine confirms his 26th birthday was this past Wednesday. Okay, this past Wednesday. Now, Regina King put out a statement. Our family is devastated at the deepest level by the loss of Ian. Regina King says in a statement sent to People Magazine. He quote, he is such a bright light who cared so deeply about the happiness of others. Our family asked for respectful consideration for this during this private time. Our family asked for respectful consideration during this private time. Thank you. Now, he was Regina King's only child, whom she shared with her ex-husband, record producer Ian Alexander Sr. Following in his father's footsteps, Ian Jr. was a DJ. Regina King previously told People Magazine that he was, quote, an amazing young man, end quote, an amazing young man. Now, despite her growing success as an actor and director, Regina King said at the time that Ian Alexander Jr. was her biggest source of pride, Now, after separating from Ian's father in 2007, after 9 years of marriage, Regina King admitted being a single parent was not always easy, but that nothing is stronger than her love for her son. She said, quote, you don't know what unconditional love is. You may say you do, but if you don't have a child, you don't know what that is. She explained at the time. She went on to say, when you experience it, it's the most fulfilling thing ever. When you experience it, it's the most fulfilling thing ever. Now, and there was a tribute on social media that Ian did for his mother's 50th birthday also. and he said he's so extremely proud. I'm so extremely proud of you and inspired by your love, artistry, and gangster. To be able to watch you take this lifetime by its neck and make it yours is something I will forever be grateful for. He went on to say, but to have you as my mother is the greatest gift I could ask for, to be all that you are while always having the tribute to be there, love and support me unconditionally is truly remarkable. Now, and he went on to say the whole Marvel universe doesn't have anything on you. You're the real superhero. Love you, mom. This day, every day, and every day, your day. Okay, why? Oh, your day. They also had matching tattoos, which read "unconditional love" in the Aramaic language as well. His tattoo was on his shoulder and hers on her arm also. Regina King talked about this in 2017 when she was on the TV show The View. She said that they were taking Kabbalah classes, and she said that her son said, "Let's choose three designs each, and not tell each other which ones they are. And whichever one is matching, that's the one we're going to get tattooed." And they both chose unconditional love. So read the rest of this article here from people.com. Now, at the end of the article, they have information regarding the suicide hotline, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255, 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-8255. If you or someone you know is considering suicide, please contact the National Suicide Prevention Line. You can also text the word strength, 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 to the crisis text line at 741-741, or go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org, suicidepreventionlifeline.org. All right. So once again, name of this article here from people.com is a tragic story. Once again, Regina King's son, Ian Alexander Jr., dies by suicide. This is from people.com. BlackAmericaWeb.com also has a good piece on this as well. BlackAmericaWeb.com. So check that out also. All right, we're coming up here on the break. When we come back from the break, we'll go back to the phone lines, and we'll also get into these other stories. I'm going to let you hear an excerpt of the presentation that I did for Davidson Elkins College in West Virginia, Joe Manchin's state. Okay. I did a virtual presentation for them because my connecting flight from Chicago to West Virginia was canceled while I was on the plane on the tarmac waiting to take off. And people learned a lot from the presentation as well. It was a majority white audience. College is about 450 people. It was the Black Student Union that invited me to speak, and Sister Lori Gao, who's an adjunct professor there. So we'll talk about this and more on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by. Okay. Share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. And we're broadcasting on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP as well. Stand by. I have to get ready for this next segment. Who still needs to register for the online history classes I teach on Saturdays and Sundays? All right. Damanu. Okay, how's everybody doing? Okay, stand by. Back from break in 3 minutes. Stand by, back from break in 2 minutes. Back from break in 1 minute.
(910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media.
I'm Brother Michael Imhotep. On the African History Network show, we deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Unfortunately, many people confuse what racism is. Racism is a power structure. It was laws and policies that put us in this predicament. It's going to be laws and policies that take us out. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you control the compass of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know.
We have it all on 910 AM Superstation. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, January 23rd, 2022, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, we'll go back to the phone lines here in just a minute. So right before the break, we were talking about the story and the reporting dealing with Regina King's 26-year-old son, Ian, who committed suicide. And I talked about the article from people.com, and I mentioned the one from blackamericaweb.com as well. The article from blackamericaweb.com, check that out also. Ian Alexander Jr., the son of actress director Regina King, has died. Okay, so read that one also from blackamericaweb.com. And oftentimes when you read these articles from African-American publications, you get different information. Okay, so check that out as well. All right, let's go back to the phone lines, and then I'm gonna let you hear an excerpt of the presentation that I did. I just sent you some more clips, Jaylen. I'm gonna let you hear an excerpt of the presentation that I did for Davis and Elkins College on Dr. King Day. Okay, so we don't have any callers. Okay, so the phone lines are open. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Okay, so if you were holding, you can call back and we'll get you in, hopefully. All right. So I want to go to this clip here, and here's the excerpt of the presentation I delivered for Davis and Elkins College on Dr. King Day, January 17, 2022. And also, January 17th was also the birth date of the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali. Okay, and we know there was a secret friendship between Muhammad Ali and Dr. King, and we've talked about that here on the show a number of times. And I actually talked about it in my presentation as well. Let's go to this clip, Jaylen.
Plane. Okay, so I got off the air last night doing my radio show, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the African History Network show, and I continued to work on the presentation, and I watched my box set of Eyes on the Prize, back-to-back episodes. And then I got to the airport like 2 hours early this morning, and my connecting flight from Chicago to West Virginia was canceled because of the snowstorm there in West Virginia. They had to shut down the airport. They couldn't clear off the runway for us to land. So I had to fly standby. Luckily, I was able to get a flight back here to Detroit. So I want to thank Lori Gow and Brian Wagner and the Black Student Union and everybody at Davis and Elkins College. This presentation is a abbreviated presentation of a 2.5-hour lecture I've done dealing with Dr. King and his distorted legacy. This presentation is Dr. King's Distorted Legacy, Reckoning with Racial Injustice. We're coming to get our check. We're coming to get our check. Okay, so I know I let you know it never fails. Every Dr. King Day, and this is one of my pet peeves for people that know me, every Dr. King Day, they show in media, on the television, they show excerpts of Dr. King's speech, but not the most potent parts of his speech, especially his speech called A Canceled Check, which was renamed I Have a Dream, and his speech, I've Been to the Mountaintop. Because if you didn't know better, let me just ask a question. How many people have heard the entire speech, I've Been to the Mountaintop, April 3rd, 1968? How many people have heard the entire speech? Because if you just go by the television, you think the speech is like 2 minutes long. The speech is about 43 minutes long. I mean, can people raise their hand? I can see people here. Raise your hand if you've heard the entire I've Been to the Mountaintop speech, April 3rd, 1968. Raise your hand. Okay. I don't think a lot of hands are up. All right. So this right here, this first slide, we have a lot of history here. We have Dr. King and Adam Clayton Powell Jr. at a press conference in 1965. We have Dr. King meeting with Elijah Muhammad February 24th, 1966. A lot of people don't know this meeting took place. We have Dr. King March 26, 1964, his first and only meeting with Malcolm X. This is at the U.S. Senate debate for the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This is late in the same month that Malcolm officially separates from the Nation of Islam. Malcolm officially separates March 8, 1964. And they were trying to set up another meeting, but Malcolm is assassinated February 21st, 1965. When Dr. King is in jail in Selma, Alabama in early 1965, Malcolm goes to Selma and Malcolm meets with Coretta Scott King because Malcolm expressed his interest in working with the civil rights leaders. Okay. Here we have Dr. King and Coretta Scott King. And here we have this picture here of Rosa Parks and Dr. King. And this deals with the Montgomery bus boycott, which lasted 381 days. It started Monday morning, December 5th, 1955. It started as a one-day boycott, and it ended up lasting 381 days. Okay. All right. So what we'll do is this presentation is about 45 minutes or so, and then we'll open up for questions and answers. All right. So I'm Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, writer, and historian. Our motto is right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. We focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world because right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. So there's a lot of talk about racial justice and racial injustice. Okay, so just to deal with a working framework here, racial justice is the systematic fair treatment of people of all races that results in equitable opportunities and outcomes for everyone. All people are able to achieve their full potential in life, regardless of race, ethnicity, or the community in which they live. Okay, and this comes from a piece called Equity versus Equality and Other Racial Justice Definitions by the Annie E. Casey Foundation. Now, that's not the only source that we can look at, but it's a good source to look at. Very briefly, if you look at equity versus equality, equity involves trying to understand and give people what they need to enjoy full, healthy lives. Equality, in contrast, aims to ensure that everyone gets the same things in order to enjoy full, healthy lives. Like equity, equality aims to promote fairness and justice, but it can only work if everyone starts from the same place and needs the same things. when you study Dr. King's life, and Dr. King wrote 5 books as well, and his most important book, I think, is his last book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos to Community. Dr. King was focused on eradicating racism, systemic racism. He was anti-war, anti-poverty, anti-racist, okay, and a total restructuring of society to have a fair and just society, but also holding America accountable to what they put on paper, what they put in the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. And this is what he lays out in his speech, which was originally called Normalcy Never Again. Then it was called A Canceled Check. Then it was called I Have a Dream, because the speech wasn't about a dream. All right. Now, Brian, do I sound okay? I'm getting some feedback, some wind. So as long as I sound okay, that's fine. Okay, good. Now, anytime I speak, I know I may say some things that are outside the circumference of some people's awareness. Just because you never heard them before, disagree with them, or don't like them does not mean that they are not true. It just means that you have to do some research to understand what I'm talking about, okay? So just because someone knows everything that they know about what they know does not mean they know everything there is to know about what they know. There's still things that exist outside the circumference of their own awareness. So I try to provide documentation, evidence, sources for you to research this yourself. As I tell people, you don't have to believe a word that I say. Proper documentation ends all conversation. All right. So we'll talk some about a canceled check. I Have a Dream. We'll talk a little bit about that. How many people knew that Dr. King had a secret friendship with Muhammad Ali? How many people knew about this? There's a famous interview that the Associated Press did March 30th, 1967, right after Dr. King and Muhammad Ali have a meeting, and they talk about their opposition to the Vietnam War. They talk about the fact that two famous African-American leaders like this should be able to meet and the world not be shook up. Okay. Muhammad Ali said if Kennedy could meet with Nikita Khrushchev, the head of the Soviet Union, he said two men like he and Dr. King should be able to meet. And Muhammad Ali was a minister in the Nation of Islam. Dr. King is a Baptist minister. So the way it's positioned is that, they're not supposed to talk to one another, things like this. Well, not the case. They have a secret friendship. All right. Biography.com has an article about this, the secret friendship that Dr. King and Muhammad Ali had. All right. Now, if we look here at, and I've heard excerpts of the speech today and things like this, and they don't deal with like the most important parts of the speech in the canceled check, or what's renamed I Have a Dream. Now, Clarence B. Jones was one of Dr. King's speechwriters. He was a close friend and one of Dr. King's attorneys. There's an article for the Washington Post from January 16, 2011 called On Martin Luther King Day, Remembering the First Draft of I Have a Dream, because the phrase I have a dream didn't even appear in the drafts of the speech. The speech wasn't about a dream. The speech was about dismantling white supremacy and racism and holding America accountable for a promissory note, a promise they gave us in 1863 and in the Declaration of Independence and in the U.S. Constitution, and calling America out on its hypocrisy and holding America accountable for what they put on paper. That's what the speech is about. In the original draft, now here's an excerpt of the article. And all this is thoroughly documented. You can go research yourself. You don't have to believe a word that I say. You can research this yourself. In the original draft of the speech, the phrase I have a dream did not appear. Normalcy Never Again was the original name of the speech. Then it was changed to A Canceled Check. The foundation of the speech was the idea of African Americans marching to Washington, demanding to redeem a promissory note or check for justice. This was an analogy that Dr. King used, and Dr. King was the last speaker. We know that the March on Washington was a dream for decades of A. Philip Randolph, who was the president of the Brotherhood of Sleepy Car Porters, and he was going to have a march in 1931. He was going to have a march in 1941, okay, and he was going to have a march and put 100,000 African Americans marching on Washington to embarrass President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. This is before the U.S. This is June 1941, before the U.S. got involved in actually fighting in World War II. This is before December 7th, 1941, when Pearl Harbor was attacked. The reason why A. Philip Randolph was going to have this march on Washington in 1941 was because he and others wanted the Department of Defense jobs desegregated, okay, so African Americans could get those jobs. Well, the day before the march was supposed to take place, President Roosevelt signs Executive Order 8802, which desegregates the Department of Defense jobs, okay? So then, because this is what A. Philip Randolph wanted. So then A. Philip Randolph called off the march. It is going to take place again. They have this idea again in 1957 to have this march on Washington for jobs. A. Philip Randolph wanted, and Dr. King wanted to march on Washington for justice. So
all right, we're gonna pause it right there. Hey, Jalen. Hey, man, we gotta get that Imhotep guy on the show next Sunday, man. I like that guy. All right, that's an excerpt of the presentation I delivered. I had to do it virtually because of the snowstorm hitting the East Coast. I did that on Monday, January 17, 2022 for Davis and Elkins College in West Virginia. That deals with Dr. King's distorted legacy and racial justice. We're coming to get our check. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, because the full 2.5-hour lecture that I've done dealing with Dr. King and the revolutionary Dr. King is available at our website right now. It's on DVD and digital download format. The distortion of the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the revolutionary, will not be televised on the TEL-LIE-VISION. That's available right now on AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. All right, stand by, everybody. Share this broadcast on your social media platform. Now, when we come back, I want to talk about Nicole Hannah-Jones. And because Nicole Hannah-Jones dropped a hammer on some people who said that her presence at a Dr. King Day celebration and her speaking at a Dr. King Day celebration would dishonor Dr. King and dishonor his legacy. They never studied Dr. King. They never read any of his books, anything like that. Okay, we'll deal with this on the other side of the break. Stand by. And then we'll get into I want you to hear some of what happened on the Senate floor on Wednesday when during the debates over the Voting Rights Acts. And then also we're going to talk about Joe Biden's first year in office. And we'll talk about a lot of things that are not really being talked about. There were a lot of successes. And we're going to shed some light on that also. Stand by. Okay, so we got to do the Cory Booker segment. Back from break in 3 minutes. Stand by. What is, okay, this right here. Stand by. 221.46. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation. Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, January 23rd, 2022, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. So right before the break, I was sharing an excerpt of the presentation that I did for Davis and Elkins College in West Virginia on Dr. King Day, the Black Student Union out there, and Professor Lori Gow asked me to speak at their Dr. King Day celebration. And the name of the presentation was Dr. King's Distorted Legacy, A Reckoning with Racial Injustice. We're coming to get our check. All right. So we'll play another excerpt of that on our show next Sunday. Now, this past Monday, Nicole on Dr. King Day, Nikole Hannah-Jones of the 1619 Project did a tweet. She posted on social media. She posted on a Twitter page. And we talked about this on our Tuesday show. She was asked to speak at a Dr. King Day celebration. And there was a group. Now, she didn't tell who asked her to speak. She didn't talk about the institution or the organization or what have you. But there was a group of people, a small group of people, who objected to her speaking there. And they said that her presence would dishonor Dr. King's legacy and dishonor Dr. King. Now, it's obvious that these people who said that have never studied Dr. King. Okay, they're dealing with the Santa Clausification of Dr. King, what Dr. Cornel West calls the Santa Clausification of Dr. King. Okay, Dr. King gets reduced to this lovable, sweet old man that everybody loves. But when he was assassinated, he was the most hated man in America. So there was a good piece from Huffington Post that broke down what Nikole Hannah-Jones said. So I want to look at this briefly here. We talked about this on our Tuesday show, but I want to go through and look at this briefly. Now, what she did was she responded back to these people, and she didn't say who they were. I'd like to know who these people were. She responded back to them, but what was clever is that she used quotes from Dr. King to respond back to them and show them that they didn't understand Dr. King and his legacy. Okay. Let's look at this here. So let me flip back over to this. All right. The 1619 Project author read excerpts from King's speeches without telling anyone that she was doing so, leading the audience to think Dr. King's words were her own, leading the audience to think that Dr. King's words were her own. And she showed that they didn't, the people who were objecting to her being there, really didn't understand Dr. King in the first place. Okay, so there's, let me close that out. All right. So on Twitter, she said, I was invited to give an MLK speech today, and a small number of members of the group hosting me wrote and then leaked emails opposing my giving the speech as it dishonored Dr. King for me to do so. They called me a discredited activist, unworthy of such association with Dr. King, a discredited activist, unworthy of such association with Dr. King. Now, she's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. One, Dr. King was the most hated man in America, and he was also a socialist. I'm not sure if these people like really study Dr. King. And he was calling for the dismantling of white supremacy and racism and redistribution of wealth. So here's what she says. She says, so I scrapped my original speech and spent the entire first half of it reading excerpts of a bunch of Dr. King's speeches, which these people have never heard before, but without telling anyone that I was doing so. leading the audience to think that Dr. King's words were mine, and woo child, it was amazing, she went on to say. Okay, now, first she said that she talked about 1619, and Dr. King talked about 1619 as well, and he deals with this in Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community. Okay. She said, here is some of what she said, what I said. It was in the year 1619 that the first black slave was brought to the shores of this nation. They were brought here from the soils of Africa, and unlike the Pilgrim Fathers who landed here at Plymouth a year later, 1620, they were brought here against their will. Okay, these are Dr. King's words. Oh, hold on. We got disconnected. Hold on just a second. Stand by. We got disconnected from the radio station. Stand by. Let me call the radio station back. Yeah. Yeah, it's me. We got disconnected. All right. All right. All right. We're back. We got disconnected. Okay. So back to this piece here dealing with Nicole Hannah-Jones, who was asked to speak at a Dr. King Day event. And she said that a few of the people objected to her speaking and said that her presence would dishonor Dr. King. And they labeled her a discredited activist unworthy of such association with Dr. King. Now, she is a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. All right. Obviously, these people objecting never studied Dr. King. So what she did is she responded to them for the first half of her speech, quoting passages from various speeches from Dr. King. And they didn't even realize that she was quoting Dr. King. She said, here's some of what I said. It was in the year 1619. Now, these are Dr. King's words, and Dr. King talks about slavery, 1619, things like this, and where do we go from here, chaos or community. It was in the year 1619 that the first black slave was brought to the shores of this nation. They were brought here from the soils of Africa. And unlike the Pilgrim Fathers who landed here at Plymouth in a year later, 1620, they were brought here against their will. Now, we know the original Americans were Africans. We've read the first Americans were Africans, documented evidence by Dr. David Imhotep. He's a friend of mine. We've had him here on the show probably about 13 times. So we understand his history, okay? But she's quoting Dr. King. Wherever she said, wherever you see the word black in caps, it's because I substituted out Negro to not give away the fact that she's quoting Dr. King. So she went on to quote Dr. King. For more than 200 years, Africa was raped and plundered, a native kingdom disorganized, the people and rulers demoralized, and throughout slavery, the black slaves were treated in a very inhuman form. White Americans must recognize that justice for black people cannot be achieved without radical changes in the structure of our society. White Americans, she's quoting Dr. King, white Americans must recognize that justice for black people cannot be achieved without radical changes in the structure of our society. The evils of capitalism are as real as the evils of militarism and racism, because he was fighting the three evils: militarism, racism, and poverty. Now, some people want to reduce Dr. King down to holding hands with white people and little black children holding hands with little white children and things like this. Nicole Hannah-Jones went on to quote Dr. King, quote, "The problems of racial injustice and economic injustice cannot be solved without a radical redistribution of political and economic power. A nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual death." is approaching spiritual death. This is Dr. King. The crowning achievement in hypocrisy must go to those staunch Republicans and Democrats of the Midwest and West who were given land by our government when they came here as immigrants from Europe. The Homestead Act of 1862 that gave about 270 million acres of land from 1862 through about 1988. And African Americans are largely locked out of that massive land giveaway. The Southern Homestead Act of 1866 that gave away about 45 million acres of land in 5 states. Were largely locked out of that. The Dawes Allotment Act of 1887 that redistributed 138 million acres of land. And the majority of that was supposed to go to African Americans, Native Americans, Black Indians, things like this. White people got 2/3 of that land. Okay, this is what Dr. King is talking about. When they came here as immigrants from Europe, they were given education through the land grant colleges. They were given education through the land grant colleges. These are the same people that now say to Black people whose ancestors were brought to this country in chains and who were emancipated in 1863 without being given land to cultivate or bread to eat, that they must pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. Now, we played that clip of Dr. King here. It was about January 1968, where he talked about this. We played that here on the show before. Okay, read the rest of this article here from HuffingtonPost.com. Nicole Hannah-Jones gives 1619 Project critics the MLK tribute they deserve. This is from January 17th, 2022. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. Okay, back from break in 4 minutes. How's everybody doing? All right, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, also, and then also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. Read the article that I wrote as well. Why did Dr. King tell us to redistribute the pain? Understanding the power of economic withdrawal. We have this at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, right on the homepage. Click on listen to, read articles by Michael Imhotep. Okay, who still needs to register for the online courses I teach on Saturdays and Sundays? From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Okay, Dizzle Wizzle and Ruby. Okay, how you doing, Ruby? Okay, we got to talk about we're gonna run out of time for this. Some of this stuff's gonna have to wait till Monday. Do we have we've got stand by. We've got stand by. Did I send them that? Check distortion. Okay, stand by. Back from break in 1 minute.
Imhotep. On the African History Network show, we deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Unfortunately, many people confuse what racism means. Racism is a power structure. It was laws and policies that put us in this predicament. It's going to be laws and policies that take us out. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the compass of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know.
We have it all on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, January 23rd, 2022, and we are live. Jalen, we're going to go to the clip from Roland Martin Unfiltered, dealing with Biden's federal judges. Okay. You can still register for the online classes I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. Sundays is Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. And Saturdays, it is from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can watch them on demand. You still have access to the full class. Even like a year from now, you want to go back and watch the full class, you can do that also. Okay. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So next class is Sunday, January 30th and Saturday, January 29th. And we have a bundle pack right now. The classes are regularly $130. We have a bundle pack. Right now, you can register for both classes for only $70, okay, because that's a $260 value. That's at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. I'm a panelist each Friday on Roland Martin Unfiltered. And we talked about, so we know January 20th was the 1-year anniversary of the Biden-Harris administration. And one of the things that we talked about that it doesn't get highlighted a lot is the federal judges that were confirmed. There's a good article from abcnews.com that deals with Biden's report card, 1 year in, accomplishments, and stalled priorities. He gets rated higher. There was a morning, there was a I think Politico and Morning Consult poll. Let's see who did this. There's one poll where the NBC News, NBC News, Wall Street Journal, that poll there, and Democrats give him a B+, whereas Republicans give him a what was the rating from Republicans? Let's see here, just a second. Democrats give him a B+, Republicans give Biden a D, all voters overall a C+. That was a Politico Morning Consult poll taken January 15th through January 16th, okay? Compared to Donald Trump, it was a C- from all voters after 1 year, an F from Democrats, and a B from Republicans, because they're living in an alternate universe. But we talked about the judges on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go to this clip, Jalen.
Today we were talking about priorities of President Joe Biden, and one of the things that's critically important, Biden has appointed 8 Black women to the federal, first of all, to key federal bench positions, which equals the total number of Black women to ever serve on the federal bench. But it doesn't stop there. Biden's 83 federal appointees, 24 have been Black and 62 judges have been women. That's something, Kelly, that, people are talking about, he hasn't done anything. You can't act like that doesn't exist.
Not only can you not act like it doesn't exist, you can't act like it doesn't matter, because it absolutely does. Just because you are not directly affected by the justice system does not mean that it is not an important aspect to the American system as a whole. When you have diversity on the bench, that means you have diverse experience on the bench. And when everybody's not a white man, that means that those who aren't can understand the plight of those on either side of the bench, be it, plaintiff or defendant or prosecution or defense. And when you have that kind of perspective, you have a lot more cases that have a fairer outcome and a more equitable outcome, such that, the justice system will actually work in our favor. So I applaud Biden for doing this, not, taking anything away from him, and certainly not giving him anything more than he deserves. Like, there's definitely more work that needs to be done, but this is an excellent step in the right direction towards diversifying our justice system so that it works for everyone involved.
And Matt, for the people who go, okay, man, this is no big deal. Well, guess what? Republicans sure understand how vital those federal nominations are, those federal appointees, and these are lifetime appointees.
Right. They serve forever. And I'm glad you said that. To give an example to the viewers, Judge Carlton Reeves, a black man in Mississippi, wrote a 72-page opinion, I guess in 2020, about qualified immunity. So when you talk about police reform, or when you talk about wanting to make strides, for instance, in qualified immunity, it's important to have judges with lived experience who can write an opinion that says, we all know that this doctrine is bogus and we know that this doctrine needs to be removed. And the reality is a black woman is going to understand that a lot more than a lot of other people who are serving on the bench. So this is incredibly important. And as somebody who practices in front of federal judges every day, I need those federal judges to have lived experience. And I think these black women and the ones to come after will be imperative to really making sure our justice system is fairer.
And it's so hilarious, Michael. I've got some fool, Lane Rollins, in the chat talking about Roland, focus on brown people, people of color. Fool, what the hell do you think we're talking about right now? We talking about black people. I mean, this is the stupidity that drives me crazy. We are literally talking about black federal judges. Okay, you're talking about Donald Trump. Nearly 90% of the federal judges he appointed were white. Mm-hmm. Were white. I think after 4 years, I think it was 2.
Right.
Maybe 3 black judges appointed in 4 years. In 4 years.
Out of 226. Out of
226. In 1 year, Biden has named 24 black judges. 8 of them women.
Roland, this is a perfect example of how oftentimes the talking points that African Americans get from social media, 1, they don't understand. 2, they don't understand things like this and why this is so important. These are lifetime appointments. Donald Trump nominated about either 1/4 or 1/3 of the federal judges, and then 3 Supreme Court judges with the help of Mitch McConnell.
25%.
25%.
You got about 800. You got about 800 or so federal judges. You also have those who are retired who still hear cases. He appointed 25% of the entire federal judiciary. In fact, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is considered the most liberal, they now have a majority conservative on the Ninth Circuit.
Right. Exactly. And then if you look at somebody like Mara Selby out of who was up for Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals that is also over Chicago, she was nominated by President Barack Obama in 2016. Her nomination was blocked by Mitch McConnell. They did not give her a hearing, okay, just like they did Merrick Garland. Then when Donald Trump became president, who did they fill her seat with? They filled her seat with Amy Coney Barrett, which then put Amy Coney Barrett on the trajectory to get pushed through to the U.S. Supreme Court. These people are playing grandmaster level chess. We're playing beginner's checkers and don't even understand all the rules to checkers. So this is something extremely important. Once again, this is the role of the president, but you need the Senate. You need control of the Senate to get these federal judges confirmed. This is one of the reasons why the Senate and maintaining control of the Senate is so important as well.
Yep. And so,
pause it right there.
People,
pause it right there.
And
pause right there, Jalen. All right. So if we look at, we're coming up here on the break. If we look at this article here, that we talk all this stuff that I just mentioned, we've talked about here on this show before, because we deal with like actual substance. We don't deal with this superfluous nonsense that floats around on social media. News1.com, October 13th, 2020. I posted this article on my Facebook fan page as well. Never forget, Myra Selby is the black woman judge whose court seat was stolen for Amy Coney Barrett. Myra Selby was nominated by President Barack Obama for the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals in 2016. Her nomination was blocked in the Senate because Democrats lost control of the Senate in 2014. It was blocked by Mitch McConnell, and she was not even given a hearing. She was not given a hearing, just like they did Merrick Garland. Okay, so read this article here. This deals with Judge Myra Selby, and I think do they have a picture of her here? Yeah, Myra. This is Judge Myra Selby right here, whose Senate seat, whose federal judgeship was stolen by Amy Coney Barrett. We don't even understand. We don't understand that we don't understand. Okay, so read this one here from news1.com, and then there was this piece right here, how Trump compares with other recent judges in appointing federal judges. Because when I was on Roland's show, he started having he has callers call in on Fridays, and somebody asked, where'd I get the information from dealing with the federal judges? Pew Research Center, because I do research about 10, 12 hours a day. Pew Research Center, how Trump compares with other recent presidents in appointing federal judges, January 13th, 2021. You know, because we know we're on the air daily, and then I do Roland Martin's show on Friday. So I spend the majority of my day doing research. And it deals right here, Donald Trump, 226 federal judges. Okay, so check this out. We'll be back in a few minutes. I'm Michael Imhotep, the African History Network show. We'll be back in a few minutes. 9:10 a.m. Superstation WFDF. Stand by. All right. Back from break in 4 minutes. Oh, this is a short segment. We got to squeeze this in. Back from break in 4 minutes. Where is... Back from break in 2 minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 1 minute. Stand by. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Okay, so I want to go to this next story here very quickly. A lot of people are talking about this viral story of a 3-year-old African-American girl from Alabama, and she's being called Afro Spider-Girl or Afro Puff Spider-Girl. There's a good article from thegrio.com about her as well. Alabama girl goes viral for Afro Spider-Girl birthday photos. Okay, Alabama girl goes viral for Afro Spider-Girl birthday photos. And the little girl's name is Rose. She just turned 3 years old. Her mother, Diamond Jackson, owns her own photography business, celebrated her daughter Rose's 3rd birthday with a Spider-Girl themed photo shoot. What the proud mother did not anticipate was the overwhelming response. On social media after she shared several of the photos online. According to WKRG, there in Alabama, Diamond Jackson said, "I've had photos go viral before, but not like this. This one is different. I did not expect this all." Now, the ladies at CW39 in Houston, Texas, did a story on this also. So let's go to this clip, Jalen.
The past few weeks, the internet has been buzzing over the new Spider-Man movie. But who needs Spider-Man when you could have Spider-Girl? Check this out. This is little Rose. She is now viral after her mom posted these amazing pictures. Her mother, Diamond Jackson, owns her own photography business in Alabama and says her daughter wanted to be Spider-Girl for her 3rd birthday party. However, little Rose didn't want to wear a dress that looked like Spider-Man. She wanted to be Spider-Man. In fact, Spider-Girl with the actual suit. So Mom made it happen. She also made it a point to include Rose's Afro puffs in the picture, which are gorgeous because she wants her children to embrace their natural hair and just to be themselves, which we love seeing it. You can see her, even though you can see her face, because you're not supposed to see Spider-Girl and Spider-Man's face, the energy, the excitement, the moves, she's got it all down. She's a pro at this.
You know, she's a whole vibe. I know she is owning all the moves. Like, just got right into it. She is down, and I love it. I love to see it. And, you know, it just goes to show you that, you know, girls, we still run the world.
Yeah, we do. And who knows, the next Spider-Man after this new one, who knows if she could have a cameo. Wouldn't that be awesome?
I would love to see it. And, you know, a shout out to Mom for encouraging the wear of the natural hair. I mean,
yes.
I'm one. So
it's wonderful.
Okay, so that is from channel CW39 in Alabama. Star Harvey and Sharon Melton react to 3-year-old Spider-Girl birthday photos. That's from January 19th, 2022. And so check that out. That's on YouTube, that clip. And then also check out the article from thegrio.com. Alabama girl goes viral for Afro Spider-Girl birthday photos. You know, this is something fantastic. And her mother, Diamond Jackson, talked about wanting to embrace her daughter's natural hair and really show that also. So that's a great story that went viral this past week. Now, let me see here. Okay, we run out of time. I want to go to so let's go to this story here from ABC News. Biden's report card 1 year in, accomplishments and stalled priorities. You can read this. A lot of this gets overlooked. Some of the things that get overlooked, number one, the transition period that a president normally has was reduced for Biden because the information that the transition after he became president-elect was truncated because there was a key person in the government that didn't push the right paperwork so he could be given proper information so you have a smooth transition. Two, when they took over, when they took over and he was sworn in January 20th, they quickly found out that there was not a plan in action to actually get the vaccines distributed to the final destination to actually get them, get people vaccinated. There was vaccines were produced, but that infrastructure to actually distribute the vaccines and get people vaccinated, the Biden administration had to create. 3, they were sworn in January 20th, 2021, which was 14 days after a attempted insurrection incited by the outgoing president. All right. So just a few quick things here to note. So they talk about COVID-19 on COVID shift to science gives way to reactive policies. They talk about the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan that was passed. That was in March 2021. And they really should be talking about this more and what was in the plan, the $46.5 billion to keep people in their houses, rental assistance for renters and landlords, the money for schools, for better ventilation so schools can open back up, dealing with COVID. The in addition to the stimulus checks, the loans to small businesses to help small businesses stay open so they can employ people. 63% of Americans are now fully vaccinated, and nearly all schools have in-person instruction. We know about 95% of schools are open now, which was much different than a year ago. So you can read the rest of this here, and they have they have a comparison 1 year ago. Initial unemployment claims 812,000. Is actually 812,000 a month compared to initial unemployment claims 210,000. Unemployment rate a year ago 6.4%, today 3.9%. Jobs created, they had lost 9.4 million jobs when Biden Harris took the oath of office. 6.4 million jobs have been created this past year. We know the African American unemployment rate is twice as high as basically the overall unemployment rate or the white unemployment rate as well. Now, they go on and talk about legislative priorities that have stalled. So we know the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan has passed, the $1.2 trillion infrastructure plan as well. Build Back Better has stalled. Now, Joe Manchin is saying he's open to talking about Build Back Better again and putting together something. The House should have jumped on the $1.8 trillion framework that Manchin sent to the White House, because they could have gotten something passed. Okay, they could have gotten something passed. They didn't take Manchin for his word. They could have gotten something passed. We'll talk about this on Monday's show. Now, there are then also we know that the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act that passed the House of Representatives March 2021 by a vote of 220 to 212. We know that stalled in the Senate. Biden is looking at what he can do through executive orders. There's a piece from NBC News dealing with this that came out a few days ago. Biden plans executive action on police reform to revive stalled issue. Okay, and this is from January 13th, 2022. So read that article. We'll talk about that some more this week. This one right here from the from whitehouse.gov. This is something that oftentimes gets left out. This deals with the $5.8 billion, the $5.8 billion that HBCUs got. Okay. And this is at whitehouse.gov. The name of this from the fact sheet, December 17, 2021, the Biden-Harris administration's historic investments and support for historically Black colleges and universities. And HBCUs got $5.8 billion in the first year from the Biden-Harris administration. All right, we're out of time here at 9:10 a.m. Superstation. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. I'm Michael Imhotep, the African History Network show. We'll talk to you next time. Peace. All right, stand by. Okay. All right, everybody. Okay, so this, check this out here, because I hear a whole lot of people talking, but oftentimes they're not dealing with facts. December 17th, 2021. How many people knew this? HBCUs got a historic amount of money from the Biden-Harris administration. Since January 2021, the Biden-Harris administration has delivered a historic $5.8 billion with a B cumulative investment in and support for HBCUs. There was $3.7 billion in the American Rescue Plan. Now, keep in mind, one of the reasons why Democrats need to keep talking about the American Rescue Plan is it was monumental. One, two, no Republicans voted in the House or the Senate for the bill. This is one of the reasons why they need to keep talking about it. There was $3.7 billion in relief funding to HBCUs in January 2021 alone from the American Rescue Plan. These emergency grants were funded directly to HBCUs from the Department of Education and have helped HBCUs and their students mitigate the negative impact of the pandemic on students' educational attainment. They have helped institutions support students' ability to meet basic needs, target resources to students with the greatest needs, support campus operations, staffing, teaching, and educational programs, and keep campus communities safe by preventing and mitigating the spread of COVID-19. Then there was $1.6 billion that HBCUs also got in 2021. The Department of Education discharged approximately $1.6 billion of debt from loans provided to HBCUs for capital improvements through the department's HBCU capital financing program. The action resulted in debt relief to 45 HBCUs, 13 public institutions, and 32 private institutions early this year. Discharging these debts has enabled these institutions to focus resources on supporting students, faculty, and staff while recovering from the pandemic. Then there was $500 million between July of 2021 and August of 2021 in grant funding that HBCUs received as well under the Biden-Harris administration. The Department of Education awarded more than $500 million in grant funding to HBCUs for academic capacity building and fiscal stability. Who's explaining this to you? Who? Has anybody told you this before? Read this. This is at whitehouse.gov. There's a ton of information at whitehouse.gov. I don't know why a lot of people don't go there for information. I mean, I don't understand that. Read this one also, NBCnews.com. Biden plans executive action on police reform to revive stalled issue. Okay. And George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Now, first of all, number one, understanding how many white people in the Senate got to vote for the bill, I would not have named it after George Floyd. I would, it doesn't have to have somebody's name on it. It can just be called 21st Century Police Reform Bill or something like that. Because see, what happens is, and you have some Senate Republicans saying this, that because Officer Derek Chauvin was put on trial and convicted and held accountable for killing George Floyd, and because the Floyd family got a settlement. Now, they deserve the settlement. I'm not saying they don't deserve the settlement. Don't misunderstand me. But you have some Senate Republicans like Senator Langford out of Oklahoma who say, well, because they've been held accountable, that means the system works. Therefore, you don't need these police reform measures. So I wouldn't put a particular person's name on the bill and name it after them, even though it's a symbolic gesture. I understand how these white people think, and you need to get this bill passed in the Senate. So read this right here. Now, Manchin is signaling that he is open to discussing Build Back Better and his version of it. And once again, see, in the House, they made a mistake of putting back into Build Back Better, the House version, putting back into it the child tax credit and paid family leave after Manchin already basically said he wasn't going to vote for that. They should have taken it out, sent it to the Senate, got it passed, put that in a separate bill, and try to get it passed separately, because Manchin already said he's not going to vote for it. So as it is now, you don't have anything. Now, so a lot of progressives in the House really mean well. and they're doing good things. A lot of them really mean well, but they don't understand how to negotiate. There was a piece from the Washington Post from about January 8th that dealt with the framework. There's a $1.8 trillion framework that Manchin sent to the White House and said, this is what I'll vote for. You should have taken him at his word. Got it passed before you went on Christmas recess. Come back, put child tax credit in the separate bill, because one of the things that Manchin was saying is that he didn't think the child tax credit should go in this bill because they're passing the Build Back Better plan, the $2 trillion Build Back Better plan, through the budget reconciliation process, which only requires 51 votes. So Vice President Kamala Harris would be the top-ranking vote. He said child tax credit should be in a standalone bill, and he thinks you can get some Republicans to vote for it. They should have done that. As it stands now, they didn't get anything passed as far as this Build Back Better bill. Now they got the American Rescue Plan passed through the budget reconciliation process. That was March 2021. No Republicans in the House or the Senate voted for the bill. They got the infrastructure bill passed. That was a bipartisan bill. 19 Republicans in the Senate voted for the bill out of 50 Republicans. Only 13 Republicans in the House voted for the bill out of 212 Republicans. Manchin says he's now ready to talk. Can Democrats sell him on new Build Back Better? Okay. But they should have gone with the framework he already submitted to the White House and said, this is what I'll vote for. I want to try to pull that piece up from a Washington Post, because it broke it down. It was from January 8th, 2022. This right here. And the talks broke down, and whatever you think of Manchin, you still need his vote to get this stuff passed. Unless you can convince a Republican to vote for it. I don't know who you're going to talk to, because none of them voted for this stuff previously. So who you going to get? It is what it is. You're dealing with a 50-50 slim majority in the Senate. It is what it is. Learn how to negotiate, get this stuff passed. This one right here. Very few people are talking about this. Manchin's $1.8 trillion spending offer appears no longer to be on the table. The West Virginia Democrat who has consulted Mitt Romney of Utah, and Trump's former economic advisor, had backed climate and education spending, but talks are now on ice. Because this is from January 8th, 2022. They should have taken him at his word, passed the $1.8 trillion bill that he said he would vote for, put the other stuff in separate bills and try to get it passed separately. The week before Christmas, Senator Joe Manchin sent to the White House. Now, how many people know this? The week before Christmas, Senator Joe Manchin sent to the White House a $1.8 trillion counter offer to President Biden's Build Back Better agenda that included substantial funds for climate, healthcare, and education initiatives. About 4 weeks later, the West Virginia Democrat has made clear that he does not currently support advancing even that offer, following a breakdown in negotiations between Manchin and the White House right before Christmas, 3 people with knowledge of the matter said. Manchin said publicly this week, now this was early January of 2022. Manchin said publicly this week that he was no longer involved in talks with the White House over the economic package. Privately, he has also made clear that he is not interested in approving legislation resembling Biden's Build Back Better package, and that Democrats should fundamentally rethink their approach. Senior Democrats said they do not believe Manchin would support his offer, even if the White House tried adopting it in full. Okay, senior Democrats said they do not believe Manchin would support his offer, even if the White House tried adopting it in full, at least not at the moment, following the fallout in mid-December. They should have taken Manchin at his word, passed the framework that he said he would vote for, because you're not going to get any Republicans to vote for it. They could have done that and got it passed before they went on Christmas break. The people spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss private conversations. Negotiations deteriorated quickly in December after the White House news release named Manchin as the obstacle to passing legislation. He already told them what he would vote for. He already sent them the framework. This is what I'll vote for. You should have passed it. Manchin then surprised the administration by criticizing the bill on Fox News, after which the White House released a blistering statement calling his credibility into question. Manchin, who has drawn protesters' ire because of his opposition to the legislation, later said the decision to name him in the news release imperiled the safety of his family. But see, he already told you what he would vote for and what he wouldn't vote for. You should have got it passed before Christmas break. You could have got it passed before Christmas break. The White House has continued to project the optimism that it will eventually secure Manchin's vote and approval of a major economic plan by Congress. And Manchin's $1.8 trillion counteroffer suggested that much common ground between the two sides remained on the policy substance. He said in recent days that he supports much of the administration's climate agenda, for example. Read the rest of this, okay? So, because what happened, the House put child tax credit and paid family leave back into the House version of Build Back Better, passed it, then sent it over to the Senate after Manchin said he wasn't going to vote for it. And after Manchin sent to the White House what he said he'd vote for. Okay, so now this other article here, January 22nd, 2022, NBC News, Manchin is willing to talk. Take him at his word his first time. He's telling you what he'll vote for. Manchin says he's ready to talk. Can Democrats sell him on a new Build Back Better? Revive what he already said he'll vote for. The pivotal centrist Democrat has been elusive on President Biden's top domestic priority. He says he's willing to restart negotiations from scratch. So Democrats are working to resuscitate President Joe Biden's top domestic priority after it flatlined last month amid opposition from Joe Manchin. Okay. The path to a deal revolves around the elusive question of what Joe Manchin can support that will be acceptable to the rest of the party. Okay, I would start with what he submitted to the White House and said he would support. Start there. Senator Brian Schatz of Democrat from Hawaii said the time has come to make major decisions and pass a climate and social policy bill after a freeze in discussions amid a tense Senate debate on voting rights. Okay, we have to have some private conversations and find the deal space. We have been using our egos and our brains to overcomplicate this matter. We have to find out what has 50 votes and then enact it. Absolutely. What will all 50 Democratic senators vote for? That's what you pass. The rest of that stuff, put in a separate bill, try to get it, as opposed to keep going back and forth arguing over this stuff. That doesn't even make sense. A lot of these people mean well, especially in the House. A lot of them mean well, but don't know how to negotiate. On Thursday, Manchin indicated openness to reviving negotiations. He said, we'll be talking to everybody who wants to talk. He told reporters before leaving Capitol Hill, we'll just be starting from scratch. I would start with what you submitted to the White House. Senate Finance Chair Ron Wyden laid out a path forward that he believes can meet Manchin's demands and become law. Focus the legislation on climate and clear energy funding, expanded Affordable Care Act funding, universal pre-K, prescription drug savings, lowering the price of prescription drugs, which is huge, and new tax revenues to finance it. Representative Ron Wyden, chair of the House Finance Committee, said Democrats have yet to settle on a final spending level, but are listening closely to Manchin's demands. Start with the 1.8 trillion framework that Manchin submitted to the White House. Start there. He said he wants to deal with inflation. Manchin said, arguing that the bill includes cost containment policies. He said Manchin, quote, feels very strongly, end quote, that new programs be set up and funded for a full 10 years. Quote, we are going to try as hard as we can to make these permanent, end quote. Read the rest of this here. They need some people like know how to negotiate. So read that one. Now there's another article, there's another piece here, and this is from CNN, because the article from Blavity mentioned, and it may be also in this one here from ABC News. They talk about executive orders on racial equity, and I don't hear a lot of people like discussing this. Maybe they forgot or something. I'm not really certain. All this we dealt with here on this show. Okay, so if you've been watching like this for all of 2021, for instance, if you've been watching, you know we've talked about these things. You remember back during the commemoration of the Tulsa Race Massacre in June of 2021, and you remember Joe Biden and Kamala Harris went to Tulsa. You remember us talking about this, right? This story from Axios, and all the news outlets reported on this. So I don't hear a lot of these executive orders that Biden has done. I guess people forgot about it. Biden unveils plans to combat racial wealth gap on the anniversary of Tulsa Massacre. We talked about this here on this show when this article came out. This is from June 1st, 2021. June 1st, 2021. How many people remember this? President Biden will announce new actions on Tuesday in June 2021, aimed at closing the racial wealth gap as he commemorates the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre. He talked about this when he went to Tulsa and did the press conference, and did the speech there. He talked about these executive orders. Biden will unveil the policies during a visit to Tulsa. Okay. The president would Greenwood, Biden would deliver. The initiatives will target home ownership and business ownership. The initiatives will target home ownership and small business ownership, which the White House called two key wealth creators for communities of color. Quote, because disparities in wealth compound like an interest rate, the disinvestment in Black families in Tulsa and across the country throughout our history is still felt sharply today, the White House said in a statement. So the Department of Housing and Urban Development will publish two new rules that will align federal enforcement practice with the Fair Housing Act and provide a legal framework for HUD to require public and private entities to rethink established practices that contribute to or perpetuate inequities, end quote. Biden will also direct HUD Secretary Marcia Fudge to lead an interagency effort to address inequities in housing appraisals. Using, quote, potential enforcement under fair housing laws, regulatory action, and development of standards and guidance. Okay. Now we know there are other things that need to take place, but these things are crucial and they need to happen also. Andre Perry of the Brookings Institute talked about these two measures and talked about how this is a good thing and they're needed, but there are other things that we know need to happen as well. The administration said it will increase the share of federal contracts directed to small disadvantaged business owners by 50% by the year 2026. By 50% by the year 2026, seeking to lower barriers to entry and allow more, quote, traditionally underserved entrepreneurs to compete. The White House says the investments will result in an additional $100 billion going to these businesses in 5 years. The White House says these investments will result in an additional $100 billion with a B going to these businesses in 5 years. Biden will also announce new details on the $10 billion community revitalization fund included in his infrastructure proposal. We know the infrastructure bill passed. The infrastructure bill passed after June 2021. Okay. Read this article here. Now, this is from June 1st, 2021. Biden unveils plans to combat racial wealth gap on anniversary of Tulsa race massacre. So check that out because I ain't hear anybody talk about that. I don't know why. When they're talking about the first year and all this stuff, what happened, what didn't happen, I don't understand why people didn't mention that at all. Then you have this one here. January 26, 2021, because there were 10 executive orders that were done on day one in January 20th, 2021. There were 10 executive orders that were signed on that day. And this, let's see, do we have that executive order dealing with racial equity? Do we have that up? Well, that was one of them. That was from on the first day. You go to whitehouse.gov and check it out. It's time to act. Biden moves to address racial inequity. This is from January 26, 2021, after 6 days after being sworn into office. The President Joe Biden signed a series of executive actions revolving around racial equity policy on Tuesday, focusing on non-discrimination policy, prison reform, and public housing, saying it's time to act. Okay. Now, the piece from ABC News did mention this. There was like one line in there, and also the piece from Blavity.com dealing with a report card on the Biden administration's first year in office from Blavity.com. They mentioned it also. Okay. But I would think more people would talk about this. I don't know why they're talking about this. I don't understand. Biden had pledged to take on climate change and racial equity as key priorities. If we go back here to this piece from ABC News. Biden had pledged to take on climate change and racial equity as key priorities. And while he has signed executive orders aimed at both, legislative pushes, climate action in the Build Back Better bill, and police reform measures have failed to garner bipartisan support, despite Biden's pledge to soften political divisions, because Republicans are recalcitrant and they're not going to vote for any of this stuff. So you're going to have to build back better on your own. You're not going to get any help from Republicans to build back better or do police reform or any of this other stuff. If Tim Scott is not supporting police reform measures and he's black, and he's been on the Senate floor a number of times talking about being stopped by police for speeding, if he ain't going to vote for this stuff, you know the other one's not going to vote for it. So read this here from ABC News, January 19, 2022, Biden's report card, 1 year in, accomplishments and stalled priorities. So you, in year two, you build on what you accomplished in year one, break through the obstructions. That's why we have to continue to push for the voting rights bills to be passed, however you can get them passed, That's why we got to continue to push for the voting rights bills to get passed, and all this other stuff. Okay, you don't give up and go put your head in the sand for the next 3 years. That's ridiculous. Okay, you fight back if you got to break it up into 2 or 3 bills. You got to come back with another, because the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, you need 10 Republicans to vote for the bill, period. Manchin and Sinema are not budging on filibuster reform. What that means is you need 10 Republicans to vote for the bill. Now, what bill can you put together dealing with police reform that you can get 10 Republicans in the Senate to vote for? You're going to get it passed in the House because of the structure of the House. And it's like 221 Democrats in the House, about 221. You're going to get it passed in the House. You got to get it passed in the Senate. What can you put together that you can get 10 Republicans in the Senate to vote for and all 50 Democrats to vote for? That's just the way it is, unless you don't want to get anything passed. Okay. So here, like we actually did with reality and facts and evidence. All right. If you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. African American business owners, email us at ahnshow@africanhistorynetwork.com, ahnshow@africanhistorynetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. Our current promotion, buy 1 month, get 2 months free. It's going on for a little while longer while we still have ad space. We have the information on the homepage of our website, also africanhistorynetwork.com. 3 new advertising packages. And let me see here. Also the 15 DVD bundle pack, the Black History Month, Michael Imhotep Black History Month 15 DVD bundle pack. It's available right now at africanhistorynetwork.com. Okay, that's on sale, $100. We'll post a link here for that. We have those shipping out this week as well. So that's 15 of my lectures, including one dealing with the history of African American History Month, Black History Month, and Dr. Carter G. Woodson. It's a deep presentation, but this is a 15 DVD bundle pack here, okay, at africanhistorynetwork.com. And we'll post a link here. Also, you can register for the online classes that I teach, and we have them on our website also. All right, let me post this here. Okay, we have to get out of here. Remember the African History Network. We focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behaviors, not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk